Every breath you are taking in, you are saying, I have no duality. You are now verbalizing through your pretty lips, if you understand. You are now verbalizing through your pretty lips that I have no duality. You have the awareness of, you have the awareness, if you understand what I'm saying, that you have the awareness of that I have no duality. When there is thought in your awareness, when there is thought in your mind means your focus is going over there. You are volunteering your focus because more than half of the time you are not alert. You are not alert enough. You see, more than half of the time you are not alert enough, or the thoughts are so compelling that unfortunately and sadly you feel helpless. So you bring your focus voluntarily to the thought. And thought, of course, is a parasite. It's not telling you anything useful. Thought is a parasite. It's not telling you anything useful. It's not telling you anything new. It is just making sure that you remain its slave. Thought and mind, however you want to say it. You see, thought, the content, mind, the entire process, when you are bringing your focus voluntarily to the content of everything that you know, you see. And mind is basically making sure, as the parasite as it is, mind is making sure that you remain its slave and you do not let the thought go. But remember something, the more you try to cling on thought, the more you become miserable. You cannot hang on to one thought more than a few seconds, if you understand. The more you try to cling on the things that you literally cannot cling on, you remain miserable. See, most of the time you remain miserable because thought says, I am compelling. What I am telling you is the truth, and you believe me. Okay. Thought is a parasite. Mind is the worst parasite that I have ever experienced. In all the years that I have lived, in all the years that I have lived in this carnation, in this lifetime, I have not seen a parasite like mind. Mind just existing and getting thrilled by enslaving what you essentially are. And it just, and you, of course, the very nature of you to remain inclusive into everything, the very nature of you. If you go, or I can say, if you go in accord with the nature, you remain inclusive. But mind seem to have a will of its own, abstract reality. That's why it is resembled as devil or demons when you have given it more than enough control. You see, that's why it is resembled. It just creates abstract reality. And it just creates abstract reality on a very fundamental level. And it wants to dominate basically creation because it has a factor of jealousy with the divinity or the sacred, which is creating a reality based on your karma. Right now, this narrow band, you see narrow band. Right now, this narrow band is a very this three-dimensional experience as you are experiencing right now, it's a very narrow band, and it is being generated. The experience basically is being generated based on your karma, you see. So the experience is being generated based on your karma, and the entire thing, all it is that you are simply aware of it. If you understand, we have talked about that numerous times. Today I wanted to bring some clarity in your perception. Today I wanted to bring some clarity that the more you try to cling, you see, you either try to cling on one thought. You cannot cling on one thought more than a few seconds. You know that? The very nature of you is to let go. And the one who tries to cling on the things that he or she cannot cling on, that one always that one always remain miserable in the process. That's the reason I am, that is the very reason that I am delivering these words to bring some clarity, that more than half of the time, the very reason we are feeling मेरे को शक्ति दे शिवा, काली माँ मेरे को शक्ति दे, शिवा मेरे को शक्ति देने का, more than half of the time, basically, more than half of the time, why are we being miserable is because we try to cling on the thoughts, you see. As the nature, as the life is happening all inclusive. Anytime your mind tries to discriminate in any shape or form, you may spew some poison to other creation, but within you, deep down within you, you remain miserable, if you understand. Have you understood what I have said to you so far? Okay. I want you to remain your focus intact, and I would be right back. Do you remember? Do you remember where we left off? Did you keep your focus? Do you remember where we left off? Did you keep your focus intact to what I was telling you? Anyway, moving on. So, anytime, anytime you try to cling on something that you cannot cling on, the very nature of the life is happening all inclusive. You can spew your poison and you try to discriminate among the creation, but you can pretend that you are very strong. You can thumb the sacred books, whatever the religion you believe in, the monotheistic religion. You can yell some words because obviously fools are very fools are very confident. You see, faith into something outside of yourself gives you confidence. That confidence actually can cause a lot of misery. The confidence can cause a lot of problems. You understand? It would give you confidence. You would remain very confident. But deep down within you, basically, you have no clarity because you do not know whatever the faith or religion that you claim or you follow. You do not know the things said in that religion or in that dogma, in that religion. You do not know through your own experience, if you understand. You just have faith. You know what I mean? You just have faith. You just blindly follow. Whether you know it through your own experience, experientially, or you do not know, you just believe in it. So that actually brings that actually brings a lot of confidence in you see. But that confidence creates more misery because you still don't have clarity. You still do not know something through your own experience. You see, the reason India is the birth of wisdom, the reason India gave birth and produced so many wise people and also the sages, because they never believed anything outside of themselves. They never believed anything, whether they knew it through your own experience or they didn't know it. Belief is something they always remained skeptic until unless they experienced it, you know. And the reality only became reality for them. And the reality only became a reality for them when they experienced something and they knew basically through their own experience, if you understand. And that prompts you to look inwards, basically, that when you perceive something, whatever the experience is, when you perceive something, what happens and what triggers within you. When I'm saying within you, I'm not talking about your body. When I'm saying within you, I'm talking about anything which the sense of self-awareness. In the bottom line, in a nutshell, I'm talking about the sense of self-awareness. What happens? What is the reaction towards a scenario? What is the reaction towards if I perceive something? What changes happening within me spiritually? That's what my emphasis on. So that's why it was very significant for me basically to bring some clarity towards this, that the very nature of life, the very nature of life is all inclusive. You may have the confidence while you are having the faith or you are having a belief on something outside of yourself. You may have a lot of confidence, but you still do not have clarity. You see, if you did have clarity, you would learn not to cling on things. Because if you try to cling on things, then you would become miserable in the process. The very nature of you is to let go. Every breath you are taking in, the next moment you are let. Every breath that you are exhaling, you are letting go. If you understand what I'm saying, every breath that you are taking in, you are letting in. It is happening every moment. It is happening every second of the process, if you understand. And it goes in accord. It goes in accord with your very nature, you see. If you ever focused on these small things, it goes in accord of your very nature. When it goes in accord of your very nature, you remain at peace, if you understand. Now, this action, breathing, that you are breathing, now this action, breathing, that you are breathing in and then you are breathing out. When you are exhaling, breathing out, you are letting go. That is ingrained in your very nature, if you understand. The reason you try to cling because you are scared of the change, if you know. But life is subject to change every breath. Life is subject to change every moment and every second, you know. Do not be scared of the change, because if you do not let go the room for something more phenomenal, the room for something much better would not generate. As long as there is karma attached, there is three-dimensional experience, which is very narrow band. And as long as this three-dimensional experience is here, if you understand what I'm saying to you, as long as this three-dimensional experience is here, the vacuum, basically, that you are given, what you understand as your Atman or soul, is limited. And there is so much this vacuum can hold. So if something has ran its course, if something has ran its course, and there are signs from nature to you that this is the time that you need to let it go, and you try to cling on it, whether it's a thought or whether it's a person, whether it's a partner, whether it's a spouse in the relationship, no matter what that is, as long as this has objectivity attached. You see, objectivity does not always mean physical objectivity. Even thought, of course, has objectivity attached to it. You cannot sustain a thought more than a few seconds, if you understand. I was having this conversation with this man, and surprisingly, I'm not trying to downplay him, but surprisingly, he was a teacher, you see. And I was having this conversation with this guy, and he was a teacher, and I stated the same thing. And he said, yes, this is very interesting that you mentioned that, but I wonder how come those criminals or these serial killers or the people who commit atrocities or the people who are totally obsessed, with committing the murders, such as serial killers and all that, they have the thought in their mind very consistent. That's what he said. That was an example that he gave me. So, in other words, in a very polite way, he was basically disagreeing with me. But when he mentioned this as an example, that what about these people who commit these type of atrocities and crimes, because they are obviously motivated by the thought. That's the bottom line, that because they are obviously motivated by the thought excuse me, that they are having, and they wouldn't let the thought go. You see, that's what his argument was to what I was saying. I was basically telling him the very nature of you to let go. And I said to him, take a thought. I don't care whether it's a good thought according to you or your morality. I I do not care whether it is a good thought. I do not care whether it is a bad thought. I do not care whether it is a horny thought or whatever the content of the thought is. Remember, any thought, the content of the thought is not important at all. You see, your problem starts, your misery starts when you become obsessed and you develop disorders, numerous types of disorder, OCD, because you become obsessive with the content of the thought. Obviously, once you get ingrained in the content of the thought, you are not going to stop, because the moment you get ingrained in the content of the thought and you think the thought is very compelling and it is given me the truth and it is given me the reality, there is no stopping you. If you understand, then you are out of the then you are out of the scene and the experience of divine and sacred. You are out. Now you have become the slave. The moment you board on the content of the thought, it doesn't matter what the content of the thought is. Thought is made out of the same thing. You know what that is? That you know the thought. If you understand, that's all it is to thought. The content of the thought is not important. An average person, Harvard University, I think it's in Massachusetts, an average person has 16,000. There was a study in Harvard. An average person has 16,000 thoughts in one day. You understand? Obviously, those 16,000 thoughts that he has is made out of the same thing. So this person is not knowing anything through thinking process. It is just recycling the numbers, the images, the places, the words. Everything is repeating and arranging itself in numerous different scenarios, and that's how you are getting 16,000 thoughts. You see, in a reality, if you did know, in a reality, I'm talking about, silent the mind. Shh. In a reality, if you did know that if you only had 16 thoughts, and if hypothetically, I'm saying not that it is real, that if you knew something through thinking process, you would become genius only if you had 50 thoughts. And an average human being, according to the study in Harvard, which is in Massachusetts, it's not important, but it's a remarkable school. It's one of the most it is one of the topmost school in the world. They compiled the survey, 16,000 thoughts in one day, an average person. But when you speak with average person, you come to realize that the intelligence, the intellect is no different than your own intellect. You know why? Because all these thoughts, the numbers, the memory, everything that you have gathered through your five senses is being recorded in your mind, and then now mind is rearranging over and over. If you give any power to this mind, it would drive you to the wall. Do you understand the phrase? Have you heard this phrase before? Is this phrase new for you? It would drive you to the wall. It would drive you bonker, in rather more British term. So the significance and the importance of silent mind. You know what the silent is? Shh. The significant the significance and the importance of silent mind has been recognized throughout thousands and thousands of years. That's why we learn to understand our very that how we function, and then we wrote the user manual, that user manual that you can understand as Upanishads. Bhagavad Gita, the sacred book in Hinduism, essentially an Upanishad. Anyway, I didn't mean to be too bent, I didn't mean to be too bent or too deviated from this topic. the clarity I'm bringing here today, basically, do not try to cling on. You try to cling on, your misery starts. When nature has decided the entity or the person or the being has ran its course, you need to let it go. You see, this teacher fella I mentioned not long ago, he was basically stating his argument by disagreeing with me that all these serial killers or the people who commit atrocities, such as Charles mentioned, excuse me, Charles, what was his name? Charles Manson, Jim Jones, um, narcissist people, the people who committed mass genocide, unfortunately and sadly, ugly people, the faces of devil. That's what I'm saying. So he said that they are driven by their thought and they maintain the thought. And I looked at that. His name, I don't remember. Even if I did remember and I mentioned it here, you wouldn't have a clue who he is anyway. So he, and out of the respect and privacy, I do not mention the name, which name is abstract again. it's it has no significance. So I looked at him and I said, I want you to to I want you to get a thought right now, right here. And I don't care whether it's a good thought, bad thought, horny thought, whatever it is, and try to hold on to it. And after five, not even after five, 3 or 4 seconds, at the most, maybe 5 seconds. Not that I was timing him, but I'm just giving you an estimate that after maybe at the most after 5 seconds, he said, I get your point. I said, you do? He said, yes. I said, what did you get? I inquired, excuse me, I inquired him. I said, what did you get? And he said to me that, yes, it seems like. I said, you see, don't lose the thought, not for a nanosecond. Don't lose the thought, not for a second. Don't lose the thought, not for a nanosecond, a millisecond, the smallest of the second. Just totally cling on it. You see, do not have a shred of a nano of the other thought, not even minute or the molecule. You see, whatever the least and the smallest entity of your thought, if you assume, I want you not to have of any other thought, but just one thought. And he couldn't hold on that thought more than 5 seconds, you know what I mean. He could not hold on one thought more than 4 or 5 seconds. So, what does it tell you? I said, look, I remember, I said, look, Brian, now listen to me. What I am saying and what you are saying is just the difference in our awareness, if you understand, and the focus. Maybe you may have less focus than me, but when I try, I'm not trying to brag about myself. I'm not saying, I'm not being condescending to you. I'm not trying to, what the word I'm looking for in English, belittle you or anything like that. But once you maintain, once you maintain the focus, if you understand, मेरे को शक्ति दे. Once you maintain the focus, then everything, focus in general, then you would know everything there is to know. You see, the only difference between me and you right now is the level of our awareness. Whatever the level of awareness you have, that becomes your life. Whatever the level of awareness I have, or whatever the extent I am aware of, that is my life. What I'm saying to you, you don't lose the thought for the smallest or the minimum. If you assume there is a unit of the thought, you do not bring smallest unit of any other thought but one thought and try to maintain the thought. More than 3 or 4 seconds, he couldn't maintain the thought. I said, you understand? Now you are talking about these culprits, the faces of evil who committed genocides, atrocities, the killers, the serial killers, or the mass murderers. And you say that they are driven, basically, you say they are driven by their thought. And they are that's why they are totally influenced by their thought. They are driven by their thought. Yes, they are totally influenced and obsessed with the thought. Yes, Ted Bundy was one of them too, or Jeffrey Dahmer. Obsessed totally based on the previous karma. You didn't know who the person was because it's the new body, is the new identification, it is the new geographical demographics. You do not know who the person was in the previous life. Once carnation is over, you wouldn't remember who the person was, but the essence of the person's carry. You see, what you are saying, Brian, the teacher, is they are led by a predominant thought. It's not possible for them to maintain a thought just like you for a few seconds. If you understand, the very nature of you is to let go. You try to cling on one thought, the room for an idea wouldn't generate in you, and you would remain very restless. You see, try that. Try to multitask in your mind for no reason. I do not talk to you fictional, I tell you your own experience. Try to multitask in your mind. Try to multitask in your mind for no specific reason. If when you are by yourself and when you are super silent, if you understand, you know what the super silent is. Super silent is this. Shh. This is super silent. You get excited when you become super silent, huh? Does that excite you? Try to do multitasking. Anytime you try to volunteer your focus on 2 or 3 things in the same time, there comes the tension within you. You see, there comes the tension within you. Anytime you try to even divert your focus on 2 things in one time, you see, in one time on 2 things, there is that rubber band tension. Remember, I give you the metaphor Remember, I give you the metaphor of rubber band. You see, you pull a rubber band, there's a tension. There comes that tension in you. You feel that tension. You feel very uncomfortable. Because, and then you become used to, then you think, oh, this is what life is. Other day, a fella I was having this conversation with, and he was mentioning to me that anxiety 24/7, 7 days a week, and all that. And most of us humans, you see, most of us humans, nobody is better here, feel that way. But we become so used to of it, we become so we become so used to of having anxiety that after a certain period of time we surrender to it and we say, I cannot fight it anymore. We do not look into it, what can be done to get rid of this culprit and anxiety. You see, you feel anxious all the time. But since your energy is invested in numerous different things, then you do not have enough energy to fight with all these disorders, which is nothing but our karma. My karma, your karma, everyone's karma. We all have attached. So we should become ally and we should give importance to ourselves and not our thoughts. Okay. Now you get the point. The very nature of you is to let go. You do not try to cling. You try to cling on one thought, you cannot. It's not possible to cling on one thought. I told this guy, Brian, I said they were led by their previous karma. They could make a choice and transcend the karma by practicing their free will, if you understand. Because one can say, because one can say for argument's sake, one can say for argument's sake that, so are we using their karma as the excuse? You see, are you using your karma? I'm asking you, whoever you are, my listener, my seer, my viewer, my truth seeker, I love you. Are you led by your previous karma? Hmm? Or your previous karma is an excuse of your misery? Is it? Let's say you have too many mental conditions. That's the best way to show you. Let's say you have OCD. Let's say you have paranoia, and you have social high anxiety, and you have psychosis. I mean, people who, or you have ADD, or you have ODD, which is oppositional defiance disorder, just in case if you do not know. Let's say you have all these conditions. What you understand, my friend, as disorder or a behavioral condition or a mental condition is nothing but karma, an older reality. Nature does not know these words, English words. Do you think nature understands English? Do you really think nature understands English, or life force, the prana, that understands English? No, you understand English. It basically, nature does not know all these things. These are all. Hmm? And would you keep going? Would you keep giving yourself to these things? How miserable you would become in a very small period of time. Can you imagine that? No, you try to fight. You try to find the resolution so you can feel free. You can feel liberated. You try to fight, and you must fight. You see, just like I am doing, just like you are doing, just like everybody is doing. If they don't have karma attached, they wouldn't be here. You wouldn't see the person, because human body cannot exist then. You see, the entire three-dimensional experience, which is a narrow band that includes your own body, is being generated because there is karma. You see, no, you do not surrender to your karma. You use your free will. You understand? You use your free will, and you liberate yourself from the karma. You use your free will. Now, these people, they were basically, they were driven by a predominating thought. You see, they definitely could, they were obsessed with the predominating thought. All these culprits, the faces of evil, they had the chance. They were here in this three-dimensional reality, which is a narrow band. I always mention that. They were here, they could have done something about it. You see, it's not an excuse. You see, no, there is no excuse. Now, mind you, follow what I'm saying to you. There is no excuse for anyone to harm another person or another creature. Let to take their life, God forbid me, alone. You understand? There is no excuse for that whatsoever. Whatsoever, there is no excuse for that. And these devils, these faces of evil, Hitler, you see, the German Nazis who committed atrocities and pushed human beings into the gas chambers, mass murderers, all that. They could definitely use their free will, not influenced by their karma. And they could do something about it while they were here to free themselves from the karma, if you understand what I'm saying to you. But they did not do that. They didn't do that. They didn't free their will. They didn't free nothing, you see, and they surrendered to. Just like, and a good person, the one who has a shred of goodness, and selfless person, fights, says, I'm not going to give in to it. So many desires we have in our regular life, so many desires we have in our daily life. You see, we see things that prompts us And thought comes into play, and thought says, I wish I could have that. But we look at the reality, we look at our finances, we we look at our finances, we look at our resources, we look at everything that we have, or what kind of repercussions or consequences my action, if I act on it, my action would bring, the long term consequences, the repercussions, the consequence, the reactions of an action. You see, thought comes into play because the very nature of the thought is to distract you from the reality of secret. So thought gotta come into the play because it's the servant of the demons and it's the servant of the devil until unless it's talking friendly to you, if you understand. I'm not discouraging it altogether. I'm saying until unless it's talking friendly to you. But your experience has been it is not talking friendly to you for the most part or for the all part. It is not talking friendly to you. It is going against you and it's trying to get you in trouble. Hasn't it been your experience so far? For the most part, I'm saying. If it is talking friendly, if it is prompting you to do some good, then you say, okay, I would listen to you. But if it is going against you and telling you nasty things or trying to get you in trouble, you get rid of the thought and you get rid of the thought quick, if you understand. Anyway, so there is no excuse for committing these atrocities. We look at things and we say, this would bring bad consequences and this would generate more karma, if you understand that. These evil faces that I mentioned not long ago, or this Brian, the teacher, was mentioning to me, they are driven by a predominating thought. Do you know what predominating is? For the most part, you have it, and somehow you cannot come out of it. You see, you are kind of obsessed. The thought is predominating, but you cannot maintain a single thought, no matter what the thought is, more than a few seconds. Another thought comes into play and interrupts the thought. You see, you cannot hold on to that. The very nature of you is to let go. And so you let go of the thought. You understand that? When you let go of the thought, when you do not act under the influence of your memory, if you understand that what kind of sick thrill you were getting when you were committing, God forbid me, 1,000 times an atrocity. You understand? When you do not give into it, when you do not give into it easily, and you fight it, you say, I'm not going to give into it. I'm letting it go, you see. And you do not act on whatever you remember, you see. You like to remember, don't you? I tell you, remember the word remember. So, whatever you remember, the memory is stored in you on numerous different levels. The short term memory that you can the short-term memory that you can access very quickly here, brain. But memory is ingrained in your DNA. Memory is ingrained in your ethereal body. The suksham sharir memory is ingrained in your mind. Your brain is not your mind. You know the distinction, don't you? You wear your mind around you like a rubber band. If you take a rubber band and if you wrap the rubber band around your finger, we have talked about that. That's how you wrap your mind. Wherever you go, your mind goes with you. There are layers and layers of existence of the mind. It exists on numerous levels. Understand that. So, hang on. When you do not act under the influence of your memory, you see, it is very possible. It is very possible. And that's how you transcend your karma, whether it's good karma or bad karma. We talked about that the day before yesterday or yesterday. I don't remember. I don't remember the exact day when we talked about that, but we talked about that. Whether it's good karma or bad karma, as long as there is karma, you would come back. If it is good karma, you would probably come back as a saint. If it is bad karma, you would probably come back as a sinner. It's very simple. But as long as there is karma attached, you would come back. You would have a good life if you have good karma attached. You know what I mean? You could be a leader, you could be a spiritual person, you could be a yogi, you could be a meditator, you could be a saint, you could be a sannyasi, you could be a sage, even, you see. Then you could be a mystic, you see. And but as long as there is karma attached, you would come back, you see. Now, how you transcend your karma, this was the opportunity which was given to these people, to these culprits, these faces of evil, that they could have very well could not act under the influence of karma, you see, could not very well act under the influence of karma, but they did. They surrendered, they gave into it, they couldn't fight, they were weak, you see. So they were driven by the predominating thought. Everything what they knew, not only from this lifetime, but from the previous lifetimes, everything what they knew generated, to that point, generated or made the content of the thoughts, everything, the tendencies which were predominating, gave birth to the priority of the thought in their awareness. I hope you understand. If you are perplexed about some things, because as I said, that I say things sometimes to bring clarity in your perception, so difficult to say in words sometimes. That's why I encourage you always to ask me questions if you are perplexed about something or you misunderstood something. And that decided the predominating thought in their mind. They could have transcended their karma by acting on their free will. It is very possible. You let the yogis, meditators, or the rishis alone. Look at a brilliant average person. Average person can be brilliant too, by the way. Look at a brilliant average person. Some of these people are more stronger in numerous ways than me and you. You know that, average people. But they are more stronger than me and you in numerous ways. People claim I have superpowers. I have divine powers. I tell them, I everyone has superpowers and everyone has divine powers. You see, I am just, it's already there. The peace you are looking for is already there. Because but mind and the superstitions are keeping it mist. There is a mist of the superstitions, and or that there is no clarity. So once you bring the clarity, mist goes away. So when the mist goes away, it's already there. You see, it's already there. It's within you, basically. Everything that you need to be the part of light, everything that you need to be the part of kahuna or eternity or the universe or Brahman or God, whatever you want to call it, based on what you were exposed to, is within you. It's literally within you. Everything. That's why I do not bank anything outside of myself. Anyway, so they could easily use their free will. Average person, some of these average people are very strong people. I meet them, I teach them yoga, I teach them meditation in person. But I have a lot of respect for them. You know why? Because I find them more stronger than me in numerous aspects. You see, even though they are not as spiritual, but they are trying to maintain a balance, and that's a beautiful thing. You can do it too. There are people who do that. And I have seen people, they were addicted to drinking or smoking, you know whether it's good or bad. Anything which is excessive, obviously, is not going to work for you. It doesn't matter whether it's good or bad. It's not the question of morality, whether it's good or bad. It's just very impractical, you know. It does not work. Whatever is practical, it becomes good. Whatever it is, excuse me, whatever is impractical becomes bad. Is very simple. For me, at least. Or that's how a mystic would see it. So they were addicted for numerous years and years, or smoking. Smoking is a very addictive habit, by the way. I'm sure most of you understand that. And some of them just quit like that and never touch that again. Do you understand that the will it takes? But their will was free. They did it. You see, they forgot the memory of the high they were getting. You see, they did not act under the influence. Please mind you what I'm saying to you. They did not act under the influence of the memory. So that is an average person for you. That is very example when I say it is very possible to not act under the influence of the memory. You see, you become addicted to something. These evil, faces of evil, that we named some of these people, what they were getting, some type of sick pleasure, some type of high. It was like a drug for them to hurt other people, if you understand, to hurt other people, other things in creation, other humans. It's very sick, it's demented, obviously it's evil. And they were weak, very, very weak from inside. They surrendered to evil more. They could not act on it. You always have that control in you, always. That's not an excuse for you. When a person who was addicted to smoking for 40 years just quit just like that, and after that, when the thought would come, stress or the circumstances, the person would not give into the memory of the high the person was getting from the addiction. That is when your will is free, when you do not give into it, when you do not surrender to it. You see, each one of us is very responsible for our actions, not only actions, but the thoughts we have. That's why you are 100% responsible and accountable for what you spread around. So I told this Brian all this in detail. I said, "You understand, my friend?" And he said, "Yeah, I understand, you know." And after that, we didn't have no conversation. I'm not trying to downplay him or anything like that. I'm telling you, this guy is a teacher. You see, he teaches. I do not know what he teaches, though. Whew. Anyways, kind of funny too in the same time. I don't know what he teaches, but he was supposed to be a teacher. And I thought the focus of the teacher must be at least on a handsome level, on a fair level. So all this I'm saying, all these words that I'm using, I'm bringing clarity in your awareness. Some of these things are very difficult to say in words, but I try to elaborate. And I elaborate and try to make it easier for you. Do not try to cling on things. You try to cling on the thought becomes domineering, you made foolish choices, it can get you in trouble. Do not try to cling. It creates the tension of the rubber band when the rubber band is pulled. Remember? When the rubber band is pulled, it creates that tension in your awareness. You don't want the tension. And your very nature is to let go. When you go in accord with your very nature, you are happy. You see, you are letting in, inhaling, you are exhaling, you are letting go. One day you would inhale, basic. One day you would exhale, you wouldn't inhale. One day I would exhale. One day I would exhale, I wouldn't inhale. If you understand, it happens to each one of us. That's what you understand as death. You see, the body, for any number of reasons, including the natural causes, has become so feeble that it cannot carry the life force anymore. So life moves on. It's very simple. There was a woman, So I told you about the thought that you cannot hold on to more than a few seconds. Your very nature is to let go. I told you about your inhaling life in and exhaling life out. You understand your very nature is to let go. It's happening every moment. Have you not paid enough attention? Have you not paid enough focus that it is happening every single moment you are letting go? When you go in accord of your very nature, when you go in accord of your very nature, you feel like a feather, you see. Do not give into thoughts that can get you in trouble. Use, do not act under the influence of your memory. Use your free will. This is pure wisdom that I am pouring out for you, if you understand what I'm saying to you. Pure wisdom. And then what happens is, I would go further. I know the alarm went off quite a while back, but this is important for me to give you the clarity, because I want to make sure that I have given you the clarity in your perception, in your awareness, everything that I have signed up for before I go and evolve on a different level. You see, you do something every day. Let's see how heightened your awareness is. You see, you do something every day, non-stop. Non-stop, you do it. And then it also affirms. It's an affirmation. You see, sometimes because I am in a state of meditation when I deliver the words of truth and wisdom, sometimes what happens basically, namaskaram. Sometimes what happens basically that I have to use a little bit of my intellect basically to access the memory or the vocabulary. Other people claim I have tons of vocabulary. Maybe it's because of my upbringing, partially in Britain, and my education in Britain, and I went to school over there and stuff like that. Maybe. So the affirmation from nature you get, you do it every day. You know that? An action you perform every day. But since, let's see how heightened your awareness is, and in that moment, in that action, you let go of everything, no matter what that is. You let go of everything, you see. Now you may think, yes, is probably talking dirty now. No, I'm not. We'll get there, because there is no dirty. As long as there is body, there are needs. But I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about when you go to sleep. Have you ever paid attention? Have you ever focused? Have you ever paid attention? Have you ever focused enough? What happens when you go to sleep? Hmm? You are so tired. There is a term we use in Britain. It is called shattered. Shattered means very tired, worn out. In Britain, it's a British term, shattered. I think there was a song by Mick Jagger, Rolling Stone Shattered, or something like that. Anyway, so there is a, when you feel shattered, when you feel worn out, absolutely, you don't care. You don't care. The bomb is going off next to you. You do not care. You see, you do not care what is up. You do not care what is going on in your surroundings. You do not care about nothing. You know that. You just let go, literally. You let go because you are so tired you can't help it. This also is aligned with your nature, you see. You go in accord with that, you would remain fresh and happy. You go against, there is so much you can do, and after that, your body would shatter, you see. So everything that I am giving is in the favor that letting go and not to cling is your very nature. Have you noticed that? That's why I'm giving you this wisdom and clarity. You let go. You don't care whether you are a woman. You do not care whether you are a male. You do not care whether you are a sister. You do not care you are a brother. You do not care you are a lover. You do not care you are a spouse. You do not care you are a stripper. You do not care you are a saint. You do not care you are a sinner. You do not care you are a criminal. You do not care you are a cop. You do not care you are a beauty queen. Or you do not care you are a president or nothing. No, treats everyone the same way, you see. So you let go, no matter what happens, no matter how compelling your surroundings are. Maybe imagine there is a lot of beauty in your surroundings. There are quite a few things that you can take to get yourself high, which is very impractical. But I'm just saying, hypothetically speaking. And even then, there is so much. After some time, you just come to a point that you just, and you willingly do that. You see, you willingly do that. You let everything go willingly. It's somebody forcing you to sleep, maybe when you were a kid. And even if you were a kid, basically, and even if you were a kid, basically, even when you were a small child, yes, your parents, my parents, when I was small, I was a kid. Sometime, we wouldn't like to nap, but we would love to play. But even a child, regardless of their stubbornness, or if they are stubborn, they don't want to sleep in that moment, they don't want to sleep in that period in time. Even at some point, the child literally just let go and goes to sleep because the child is tired. Whether it's a child, whether it's a grown up, whether it's an old age person, no matter who that is, no matter, you let go because it's in your very nature and you willingly do it. Nobody tells you to do it. You willingly do it. You let everything go, but you don't have awareness of it. You don't see life so closely. That's what yoga and meditation does in your life, that you start seeing life closely, you see. So ponder on the awareness I gave you today. When do not try to cling on things. You try to cling on things, it would generate either bad karma, or you would get in trouble, or you would basically, or you would remain miserable in the process. You see, there was a lady. She was a sweetheart up north in the state of Washington when we were living over there, and she was grieving. You see, and one of the close friends said there is an Indian man, which is me, and she said that he is known here in the community. We were in a small town, and we were living over there and working and just getting by with life. Um, and somebody said that you should go and see this guy. So, um, but I was already acquainted with this lady. She was a nice person, nice human being, but she was grieving. So when we spoke about this particular topic, and I said, "My love, how long ago was it when your husband passed on?" And she said, 7 years. So I said, I am not in any form or shape, you see. Excuse me. I said, in any form or shape, I will never attempt to challenge or to judge in any form of shape what you are going through. I would never do that, because if I do that, the game is over. You see, I'm not here to do these kind of stupid things. However, I would love to bring clarity in you. I said it's time for you to let it go, and when if you do not let it go, then you would remain wounded. I told her, I said, my love, my heart goes out to you, but it is very possible, you know, because I have done it in the past. And we must let it go. And I said, 7 years is a long time period. As long as your karma is attached, you are given a specific room, you see. And in that specific room, there is so much it can contain or encompass. And I said that if you wouldn't let it go, the room for something new and something better would not take place. That's what I told her. And I also said that it is also barricading or stopping you to heal, you see. And 7 years is a long time period, you see. It's also stopping you from healing, and you must heal. from it. The moment you would let it go, the moment you would accept that, the room and the healing process is already on its way, if you understand. And then something miraculous and something really beautiful would happen in your life. But you should let it go. And you do it little by little. You see, whatever keeps you uncomfortable, one day at a time, you disband yourself. And I would teach you how. I said, you tell me, if 7 years is not enough, you know, to heal, then when would be a good time to be happy? When it would be a good time to heal? You tell me, you give me a date. I'm even taking your side. I am even taking your side and I am giving you the points. I said, when would be a good time to heal? I said, you give me the date. You decide. I'm taking your side. I said, when it would be. She said, 7 years is not enough. I said, you told me 7 years is not enough, love. But when it would be enough. You see, if you just keep going like that, it would never be enough. You would never start. But you got to start from somewhere before you pass on. And it's very significant that this kind of clarity, we had a couple of sessions of conversation and some meditation. And she literally started coming out of it, you see, and she felt happy every day. Everything take time, but learn to let go. You do not let go, you try to cling, you remain miserable in the process. You do not let go, you do not let go, you try to cling. You always are struggling with yourself because you are trying to cling on things that you have no control on. There is obviously a principle, the common denominator, the sense of self awareness, which is not the personal property of anything in creation, but it is the cause of the entire creation, basically has the upper hand. You see, your individual self only exist in your mind and the mind of humanity. Mind of humanity has no reality, you see, because creation is limitless, you see. So understand that that universal principle, that powerful, that potent principle, the sense of self-awareness, the sakshi, the sense of self-awareness, the sense of self-awareness, the pure consciousness, the sakshi, the silent witness, sakshi, the silent witness of everything, sakshi, the silent witness literally of everything. There is the one which runs the show behind every experience. There is the one which runs the show behind every experience, you know. So ponder about what I said today. I gave you the clarity that is, stop trying to cling on things that you cannot cling on. Because if you try to cling on things, then you remain miserable. You would make foolish choices, you see. And it's a barrier. You know what the barrier is? Hmm? You like the barriers, don't you? So it's a barrier, of course, in your spiritual growth, you know. So the more you learn to let go of the things that you cannot cling on, the more in accord with the nature you are. When you are more in accord with the nature, you naturally are happy. Because happiness is not even your birthright, happiness is your fundamental state. And don't forget to meditate, you know. Do not forget to meditate. Meditation is very important for you. Okay? Do not forget to meditate. And remember something, I love you.